think most of you guys know who I am. Producer of Meat Eater, co-host of the podcast, and turkey fanatic. And yeah, we don't have to stick to turkeys. Any questions you guys have, I'm more than happy to answer tonight. So yeah, thanks for showing up, Steve.
Yeah, Steve, Rinella, been wearing, loving First Lite for a long time. So it's cool to team up with these guys on this. And our turkey season opens on Saturday here. Just today they suspended license sales to non-residents. So I imagine it'll be somewhat less competition, but since no one's working right now, I imagine we'll probably make up for it on our own with our own residents, but I'm still excited to head out. And I think we should go. Well, you got a preamble, Yanni? Or you want to go off questions, man?
No, I think we should just roll right into the questions.
Yeah,
I don't know if everybody can see everybody else, but Jerry, he's here. He's next to his fireplace with it looks like a brown drink in his hand. So I just want to give him a thumbs up because he looks dialed.
He's the only one that paid attention. Fireside chat.
I'm actually way out in Maine. And we're getting a foot of snow today, so it's kind of depressing.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
Yeah. So I hear you guys are getting it. So anyways, our season doesn't even open until May 4th for turkeys, which is really hard because generally by then, they're all henned up. Usually the turkeys are toms.
How late does it run?
It runs a whole month of May, so you get the whole month, so that's nice.
Yeah.
You get to
so
go
that season might actually get better the later it goes.
Yeah, it can. But usually the issue is usually when they fly down first thing in the morning, they got hens right close with them. It's hard to find kind of a lonely tom.
Yeah.
That time of year. It's kind of hard now because just like last week I was driving around, I saw a tom out in the field and I just jumped out of my truck and I just squawked at him. He came running right at me. I was like, oh, why can't we go yet?
He won't do that. He won't do that in a month, huh?
No, he won't do that in a month.
Yeah.
So, it's hard because last year was cool. I took my 4-year-old daughter out and we had one gobbling at us, but then he got with hens and he was gone. So my question is, any tactics on when they're with hens, getting them away? Anything special you guys do?
Go ahead, Yanni.
They're definitely tough birds to call to you when they've got hens with them. My best tactic and the easiest answer to that problem would be skip hunt in the morning, roll in at 9 or 10, and hunt until 2 or 3. Because I'm serious. Because they don't hang out together all day long, and eventually that tom finds himself by himself, alone, lonely, and he's very susceptible to calling.
So you say sleep. You say sleep in.
Yeah, as hard as it is, I say sleep in.
Well, I think you should sleep in if you have a certain, or whatever you do. If you have a lot of things you got to get done during the day and work and all that, I would, if I had a 3-hour block to hunt or a 4-hour block to hunt, and then I had to do my obligations to my family and work, I knew I could carve out that time, I'd be hunting 10 to 2.
Yeah.
Rather than hunting at daybreak.
Yeah.
When we started out turkey hunting, man, it was and I still like to do it, but we thought it all came down to getting on a bird in a tree. You know what I mean? Roosting them, getting on them in the tree. And we did that, and we still do it, and I still love that experience. But killed a lot of turkeys late morning. A lot of turkeys early afternoon. And some guys like, oh, yeah, it's because you're not a good caller. I'm like, okay, sure. But I don't know how true that is, but sure, I'll buy it. But for me, man, for me to hear a gobble at 7:30 in the morning, it's great, but it's hard to get optimistic. When you strike a bird and he gobbles at 11 in the morning, I mean, we always laugh about it. It's like, I hear that and I'm like, dude, that's a dead bird, man. Because he's just in a different mood. He's got different things going on. He might be out cruising around.
We don't.
They're not spending no matter what's going on, if they're henned up, the hens are still going off, like Janis saying, you know. It's hard not to be out in the morning because you feel like you're supposed to be, but
Yeah.
dude, hunting that late morning is fun, man. Early afternoon, it's fun.
but
Then it gets hard again. In the afternoon, it's hard to kill birds.
Yeah.
To put a button on it, I think the other thing that you could do is go in decoy heavy, especially with like a full fan gobbler. And that sometimes is enough to, you know, pull that tom away from a group of hens because he feels, you know, encroached upon and he's coming to fight. I would say that would be a good bet too. But let's move on to the next question. Who is next, Kevin?
Awesome. We got one from just iPhone, which is a little bit secretive there. Question is when to move and when to stay put if you aren't hearing gobbles.
I'll go first on that one. If I'm not hearing, well, it depends. If you have the luxury where you're on a large chunk of ground, either like, you know, you're on your buddy's farm or whatever, and you got several hundred acres, that's very different. It's very different than if you're on like a 20-acre plot, right, surrounded by other properties, and you just don't have the luxury to move. So we hunt a lot of big ranches. In the West, we hunt. In the East, we have the luxury of hunting some big farms. We hunt some big tracts of public land in the West. So we have the luxury of hunting spots where you can move. If I'm not hearing gobbles, I'm generally moving, man. I like to be put in the morning. I like to stay put in an optimal listening area. I like to take my nap, my late morning nap, in a great listening spot up high somewhere. But generally, I'm cruising, you know. But that's just a lot. That's personality. I'm walking slow, walking quiet, listening for gobbles. I might come back around again, but when it's prime time and they're active, it's hard. If I'm not hearing them, I'm going to move till I can hear them. If I have the luxury of having space to move to.
Yeah, I can add just a little bit to that and say that for me, it's going to come down to, you know, how well I know that country. If I don't know it very well, and again, there is a space to move, like Steve said, I'll be definitely cruising around and just like I'm hunting elk, just, you know, lots of crow calls or loud hen calls, just trying to locate a gobbler. But like when we hunt Duran's farm, which is sizable, but again, not huge, like if you want to, you could, you know, walk the whole thing in a big hour. We kind of know where the hot spots are, and you know, if you sit down and are patient, patience is going to pay. And again, it's because we know that spot and you're a little bit limited. So I think it did really, for me, would come down to like, how bad do I want to kill one? Because knowing that if I know that spot's going to pay off eventually, sometime during the day, like you might as well just sit there and you know, let patience work for you.
We are from Moscow, Idaho, and my daughter Bailey is able to hunt this. Well, she's hunted pheasants on the Idaho Passport program, which is pretty slick for the youngsters. Nice. Because she can hunt turkeys, so she has a question.
Oh, great.
All right, her question is, what are your tips? And maybe, well, I don't know if, Steve, if your kids are old enough, but Janis mentioned taking his girls out a minute ago. What are your tips for first-time youth hunters?
For
turkey specifically.
Yeah. So my older boy turns 10 this spring. So, and he actually turns 10 on a Saturday during season.
That's Bailey too, in the middle of the season, yeah.
May 9, yeah. So we'll wake up on May 9 and we will be hunting birds together. So, I mean, it was a little premature for me to give advice, but I'll tell you what what I ended up doing is got him a break open.
Yeah.
410.
Yeah.
And we're going to load it with TSS. And I put a red dot on there for him to mess around with. And he broke it 2 ways very quickly. So, like, broke 2 things on it. So got rid of that. And he's just going to be shooting, you know, groove and bead. We're going to look for close shots. And the reason I like to break open is I don't have to wonder what he's got going on with that shotgun when we're walking around, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like open. I can see what's happening. He knows how to open it. He knows when he comes up to someone to open it. There's no fiddling around with semi-autos and is this loaded? Is it not loaded? What happened? Right? It just takes a lot of the stress away, I think, to have a simple thing like that. So
Yeah.
next year I'll have more tips on it. Next year I'll have more like actual tips, you know?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're working with a break open 20 gauge.
Sure.
Grow into it a little bit. And she's been using that for pheasant hunting the last 2 years.
Got it.
It's been really fun to like use it, but when I was doing like the turkey,
We went out last weekend and tested some turkey loads on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
it wasn't really in my like up here, but it was in it like tightly, but it still threw my arm back and it hurt me and my brother's arm because like it was so rough, but like during the turkey, but the pheasant one, like I can do it smoothly and it doesn't hurt.
Yeah. So you're not afraid when you pull the trigger, huh?
No.
No, that's good.
Cause like if I was afraid, I would probably not be wanting to go hunting with my dad.
No, that's a good point, man. It's good to have a shotgun you don't mind. That's why I got my boy a 410, but I'll probably switch him up to a 20 gauge as soon as my daughter's old enough to use that 410.
Super quick and easy. Just recommendation on starting calls. Brand new, from Great Falls, Montana. First year turkey hunting. I was looking at doing a just what kind of hand call and possibly a mouth call to use.
I was telling someone else this the other evening too. We were talking turkeys, and my wife is a beginner turkey hunter, and she has for like the last 4 years with a slate and a wooden peg, which you can get something like this probably at Sportsman's for definitely under $20. Probably get a nice one for 30. My kids today were messing around with one of these with the turkeys that we were looking at, but to me still now I think it's like the easiest way to make like a turkey sound. They're just simple and easy to kind of keep in shape to make good calls. So that's what I would go with, a slate pot call with a wooden peg, and then really any of the calls from Phelps, he purposely uses a sort of like a medium flex latex and prophylactic in there to make it easier for beginners to call on. Sometimes more advanced callers don't like it because they tend to work through the calls a little bit faster and wear them out. So we're actually working with them to make like another level of calls are going to be a little bit stiffer, a little bit tighter, that they might take a little bit more breaking in and a little bit more sort of just prowess, just working the diaphragm, but they're going to last longer. They're going to keep like a nice crisp call longer. But all of Phelps's calls, I mean, most of them, all of his turkey calls that he send me, I can put them in my mouth and with zero break-in be calling them. So they're very beginner and user-friendly right out of the package. And as far as cuts, the different cuts in all the calls, it really doesn't matter. You're just going to have to go and try them and see which one works for you.
Yeah, Yanni carries this giant box call. It's not even a box call. It's a paddle. What the hell do you call it?
Yeah, it's just a long box call. They call them paddle calls. I've quit carrying it because they don't make a vest that has a pocket big enough. And so it's always in my cargo pocket. I just carry a regular box call now. Yeah,
we call it the Warhammer. I like a slate call. And I like a mouth call. I go to my slate call more often. I just I know it well and I'm comfortable with it. And when you're sitting there and a bird rips right off and he's close, it's like you want to know that when you strike it that you're going to like the sound, And I just am comfortable with a slate, and I found that there are a lot of really, really good callers out there. I'm not one of them, but I managed to shoot a lot of turkeys. I have a very minimal vocabulary that I use. I don't call super loud and super aggressive. I think there's so much more that plays into it in terms of taking the bird's temperature, not blasting it too much, kind of getting a sense of when to shut up, right? Where to position yourself. I think that you could probably be a really good turkey caller and suck at shooting turkeys. And the best thing is when you have it all put together. But I rely a lot more on other aspects of the hunt, and then my calling is not elaborate. It's very minimal, very simple vocalizations.
So what's up with Yanni calling from his basement and Steve gets to call from an office?
Everybody's making do right now, man. We're not.
Got a stack.
I like when people point out this office. I want to point out I'm touching right now the walls, both walls of my office. Gotcha. Whoever built this house, this was supposed to be a wine cellar, but we turned it into an office. But it's gotcha. Looks good. No, I'm calling from Troy, Michigan, so I know you guys are familiar with this area around here. Yep.
I do a lot of turkey hunting and deer hunting down in Hillsdale, so I'll be heading down there later on this month. Yep. What do you guys recommend for decoy setup down there in this kind of area? I usually just use a strutter decoy. Thinking about switching over to just a Jake and a hen.
Yeah. Yanni's got big opinions about this. I got minor ones.
Have you had bad luck with your strutter to make you want to change?
I've been hunting here for 5 years now, and I've just got this one bird right there. And that was just with a hen.
Does your strutter have a natural fan or you got a real fan on it?
Yeah, natural fan. Yeah, it's one of those. Actually, you guys recommended it. It's one of those chicken on a stick.
Oh, yeah.
I think Callahan uses it.
Yeah, I'm surprised that thing hasn't worked better. So you've shown it to quite a few times, and what happens? They run the other way?
They have no interest in it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would depend. I'd have to see or know maybe what time of year it is. Is it early? Is it late? I mean, I've certainly seen them go the other way, but more often than not with a real tail fan. And a lot of times we run only the fan with no body attached to it, just the fan, and it seems to bring them in pretty aggressively. A friend of ours in California, was he using a full strutter or was that a Jake and a hen?
I didn't even look at it that careful. He couldn't kill. He's been for years trying to kill a turkey. We're like, dude, you got to get a decoy. Did you send him one or did he order one?
No, he just ordered them.
Yeah. 2 days later, there he is with a dead bird next to that decoy.
Yeah. He ordered he said a flock from Dave Smith decoys. I don't know how many he actually got. But yeah, certainly I think, who knows what's going on there. Maybe there's a bunch of subordinate birds and they don't want to pick a fight with the tom that you're displaying out there. And so, yeah, if that's happening a bunch, I would certainly go down to the Jake and go down to something that's, inferior to the bird that you're trying to kill. And I think that most Jakes, I don't know if you're into killing Jakes, but most Jakes will probably come to a Jake more often than they'll come to a gobbler. That being said, too, late season when the gobblers are getting worn out, you'll have 3-packs, 5-packs of Jakes come in and bum rush the toms because they know they're tired and they can beat up on them. As a pack of Jakes, they can beat up on a single gobbler. So, yeah, it's day to day, but if it happened, I would still try first with your strutter, with the real fan. And if it didn't work, come back the next day with just the Jake or the Jake and the hen.
Are you hunting a spot where it's like a small parcel and you're kind of working that same spot with that same decoy setup again and again and again? Or are you talking about different areas and you're getting the same results?
It's the same private area, but it's a large area. That's about 500 acres. So
okay.
There's 2 or 3 large flocks that roam that area, but they all seem to behave the same way. If I put that strutter out, it's not that they run away; they just don't seem to care. So that's what got me into thinking about just do a Jake and a hen setup and try to get those guys jealous. And we're usually hunting late April, early May is when we're usually heading out there. So it's still pretty early in the season here. But we like to get them when they're fresh like that. So
yeah, well, I mean, I'd love to see the whole kind of picture, and maybe make some sense out of it. But if it's not working, I would be very eager to experiment with other setups.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll give it a shot and see how it goes.
Yeah, I have another question on decoys. I picked up spring turkey again a couple years ago after about a 30-year hiatus, and I wanted to start trying some decoys this year. And I question the logistics. Do you set them up and then start calling, or do you wait till you hear a gobble and then set them up and get to your shooting spot? And I'm hunting like a big chunk of public land where I'm walking a bunch of benches and ridges on a mountaintop. I'm in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Both.
Sounds like you're doing more of what we call run and gun.
Yeah.
I would unless you roosted the birds the night before, which if you did, you can go in the dark and get your setup dialed in and set down. But if you're just walking a ridge and wait, just trying to find a bird, I would be packing them along until I got one to respond. And then depending on how close or far he was, I may or may not set him up, because I've definitely made the mistake of thinking, man, I have to have my decoys out because there's no way I'm going to kill him if I don't have my decoys out. And you go out there those 30, 40 yards and you set one and you look over and there he is already looking at you. So you want to be careful with that, and make sure he's far enough out there that you're not going to ruin your opportunity by setting the decoys. But most of the time, I'm going to wait to hear one before I set my decoy.
Yeah, I would probably, at daybreak, if I knew there was one around, or I knew there were birds on another place I couldn't hunt, I might Hail Mary it and get a setup that I was going to run for the first 20 minutes of daylight. If I had reason to believe there were birds around, I might just set them up in the dark in a way that looked like they were conspicuous and could be seen. But generally, yeah, we carry them. And Janis right. It's like you get lazy where early on, whenever you call, like if you're locating with crow calls, owl calls, you don't need to worry about the bird screaming over to you right away. And you pick up a gobble, you got time. He's got no reason to come. But oftentimes, a great way to locate birds is hen calls, And when they go off, if you're playing it right, anytime you do a hen call, you got a plan. Like you're like, okay, if he goes off, this is where I'm gonna sit. I got a tree. I got a general, like I'm in a pretty good position. And you're careful about hen calling when things look like plausible, right? And you don't hen call when you're in some stupid spot. Like if you're going through a creek bottom and you can't see 5 feet, might not be the best bet to do it, because if you get an answer that's close, you're just screwed. But you always get lazy and you just call when you shouldn't call. You just like, what are the chances I'm going to get an answer? And then you get an answer. And then you got to move fast. It's like there's a little thing that races through your head. Is like, is this bird coming? Oftentimes, if I get a gobble, I just kind of sit for a minute and pause, because if he's going to come in super hot and he hammers again and you can tell he moved, I'm just down, man. You just want to bury into the ground and forget the decoys. If he's coming in super hot, he might blow past you, whatever. But if you're working hard and you're getting frustrated, and then you finally get a bird and that bird comes in and busts you before you're ready, it feels like it's a shitty feeling, man. So yeah, being ready to do it. But most of the times it's setting up after hearing a bird and you know what direction he's coming from.
Thank you.
So I'm in Florida and we're pretty late in the season right now, and I was just kind of wondering how to get them to come in under a lot of pressure.
Well, that's easy. Let me take that one.
It's simple.
Oh, man. A lot of pressure.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of public down here.
Yeah. I think that trying to outthink the pressure is probably a good way to approach it, and think about, where your parking lot is to relation where the birds are. And if everybody's walking from the parking lot to the birds down the same logging road, maybe you need to do the wide loop, and come in from the completely opposite direction and call at them. I think that that's probably a place where really soft calling can be killer. We hear it time and again that all of us, me included, we can call too much and too loud, and light, soft calling, and I think sitting on your butt, being patient, and if you know your zone, that there's turkeys in there, just plopping down and kind of hunting them like you're going to hunt a deer, and just trying to ambush them, obviously with a few light calls mixed in here and there. But that would, off the top of my head, that's my answer to your pressure without knowing too much more about your situation.
Yeah, I think that it's helpful to keep in mind he's not going nocturnal. Like, he's on the ground, man. He's on the ground and he's walking around. I think if he's pressured, he might not be making noise, but he's out. He's doing his thing, right? He's not hiding in the top of the tree. So, and they do circles, like you'll be sitting in some area. I think last year we were camping for turkeys. We realized, like, after a couple of days being in one spot, you realize throughout the day, the same bird we could never get on, if you just listen to his gobbles, like throughout the day, that son of a bitch would do the same thing 3 or 4 times throughout the day. He would wind up coming down this same little ridge and just gobble now and then, would never reply, And I think, like, in that case, getting into those areas and just sitting quiet and having restraint, and maybe just call very softly now and then, and just let them come to you, and not expect them to be coming in and roaring and gobbling. But just keep in mind, like, he's not hiding. He's like out. You know what I mean? He's just
Absolutely.
out quietly.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Calling in just outside of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, down here. So our season opens up on Saturday too. Super pumped. I grew up turkey hunting in Wisconsin. That's where I'm originally from. But I'm stationed down here in North Carolina, and I'm hunting a farm that I've been deer hunting this year for the first time turkey. I've got roost tree. I know where they're at, 2 separate flocks on there. I'm just wondering, like, first time hunting a place, but you got an idea where they were in the fall coming in, and I've been on the last 6 months and just got back, so I haven't been able to scout. What are some, like, setup techniques? Like, what time are you going in? Are you doing a lot of calling, or if you know where they were roosting in the fall, are you setting up there? Thanks, guys.
Yeah, if I had a spot that I knew I had access on, and I knew there were birds there, and I knew I had quite a few opportunities to hunt, I would probably go into, like, a very conservative, cautious mode, and I would not crowd those roost trees out in the morning. Come in, like, very quietly, way before dark. Plan on staying a little bit farther away, maybe trying to get my decoys out where once they hit the ground, they'll be visible. But just take it real slow, real easy, and just try hard not to spook them and blow them off to another place. So if you couldn't scout it, maybe not go out there the first day like gung-ho and really pushing it and trying to get 50 yards from the roost tree and, you know what I mean, put a decoy under there. They're up in the tree. When you're messing around down below them, they know you're there, man. And they don't like it, right? And so I would take time and just put it together like a puzzle. A lot of, like, the funnest, best turkey hunts, it's like you get a bird the third day. Because the first day you're like, well, you know what they did? They did this. And then you work in there, and then you realize they did this. And then you get more, and you do more, knowing that you're going to be able to do it without spooking them. It's different than when you're in there and there's some other dude you can hear calling off in the distance, and you realize you got to be, like, mega aggressive and, like, get in there. It's just different. It's a different feeling. So I would take it easy and coddle that place and, like, cultivate that place if you got the luxury of doing it.
Yeah, right on. No, we do. I'm the only one that's got access, so I got lucky there.
Yeah, I would make it my goal to not give them a reason to leave until I'm shooting one.
Hey, we got a question on the chat side of things from Jen, and she's asking for any new hunters like myself, could you guys hammer out your favorite 3 to 5 turkey sounds? Yanni, looks like you got a call over there.
Yanni does. I can go grab one, but go ahead, Yanni.
3 to 5? I don't think I know that many.
Well, maybe just the best one you got, man.
This is a new test call I'm trying from Phelps. Let's see if I can make it work. But the main 3 you need to know, in my opinion, are just going to be your basic yelp, a basic cluck, really you need to know those 2. I guess after that you can start thinking about practicing a kiki run and maybe like a Jake yelp, or some people call it a kelk, which is just like a longer, more drawn out yelp. There's purring, that I can't really do well on a diaphragm, but a slate is great for that. But yeah, I'll give you what I got here. Here's my basic yelp. And then a cluck. And then get the kiki run. What else did I say? Oh, the Jake yelp, which I never even knew was a thing until Guy Zuck told me about it. And he says that he can piss off a gobbler sometimes by making it sound like there's a Jake over there with that hem. And it's just like a longer, more drawn out yelp. That could also be interpreted as something dying. I don't know exactly, but that's that. And then the purr. Let's see here. Is that audible?
Yeah. I use that one a lot when I got a bird close to me. If you have a hard time shutting up, it's good to have the purr, because you can do that and feel like you're being constructive, but you're probably not screwing anything up.
Yeah, exactly. And for those wondering, like I said earlier, this is, like, in my opinion, it's the easiest for a beginner, because I mean you're literally just scratching the surface with a wooden pencil, and you can cluck, yelp, purr, and of course you can get into the more excited and all that cutting and fighting, purring type stuff. But yeah, there's 3 to 5 calls for you.
Yeah, another thing I found, and we did this to pretty good effect last spring one day too, is when you get a hen pissed off, take advantage of it and just start mimicking her back. Oh, everything she does, you do. Everything she does, you do. They have a different thing. Like, you get them mad, and they'll come around, and it creates like a nice little center of activity around you. And the other thing, like, is what you got. If you got a bird that's coming, like, don't mess with him too much. If he's coming, just shut up. If he stops and then you call and you realize he takes 5 more steps, then do that. But it's like earlier I was trying to mention it. Calling's great and it's super good, but you got to learn how to just kind of read a situation and get a sense of what a bird's demeanor is and what its context is, and try to play to that more than just running through your schedule of calls that you understand you're supposed to do. It's a lot of just every time you have an encounter with a bird and watch like how he thinks about it and what he does, you learn more, and then the thing that happens when you got one 30 yards behind you and you can't see him and he's just in there and you can hear him drumming, right? It's like to be able to pull him that extra couple feet that's in my mind what makes like a great situation. And that oftentimes comes down to just knowing just to shut up and let his curiosity get the best of him.
Yeah, awesome. I like to always remember in a calling situation is that once that bird has answered me one time, he knows the blade of grass that I'm sitting on. You know, it's his house, his zone, however you want to put it. He knows the tree I'm sitting next to. And so once you know, like Steve said, that he's coming, the last time he heard that hen was she sounded off next to that tree that you're sitting next to. So he's got to get to a spot to where he can see the base of that tree to see the hen that he heard, right? So if you know he's coming, yeah, it's definitely best to shut up because there's no reason to give him a reason not to come looking.
Yeah, and I think too, man, this isn't something I can really prove, but when you got a bird and he's out, whatever, you can't see him, he's 75 yards away, and you're calling and he's gobbling and you're calling and he's gobbling, I think that they actually, I don't want to use the word enjoy, I'll just use the word enjoy because I don't know how to actually put it. I think they enjoy that interaction. And they'll let that go on for a long, long time. I don't think that they necessarily view it as like a means to an end. They seem to like luxuriate in that sometimes. And it's you having the discipline to just stop and get him curious because they're having the time of their life, I think, when they're doing that. They're just like, she'll be here. She's going to show up. This is great. I'm having a good time. And meanwhile, it's like an hour goes by, you know. And some other dude's probably listening to that thing going on. And so at times, just like, being quiet longer than you feel comfortable, and all of a sudden here's that head coming through the trees, man, and it's exciting then, you know.
First off, from Idaho, I have a question about like some public land gobblers and stuff like that. I hunt up around like southwest Idaho, like up in like around Hell's Canyon in that area.
Yep, I've hunted
and
there.
I was just wondering how you get those turkeys to come up out of those draws and get a chance at them.
When I hunted there, you had to go down in there after him, you know. Yeah, you go ahead, but I'll tell you like a Hell's Canyon story.
Well, I've never hunted there. Have you been hunting them already, and then having issues with them just sitting down there and gobbling at you and not coming out of there?
I mean, I've had issues where it's just like it's like we'll gobble at him and he'll just sit there and gobble back at us. It's like he doesn't show any interest in coming up and looking at us or anything like that.
When he's talking about coming up, how many yards are you talking about?
Like 100 yards, 70 yards.
One of the most amazing feats of turkey calling I'd ever seen was in Hell's Canyon. I was with a guy, Robert Abernathy, who's a lifelong turkey hunter, actually a turkey biologist. And we were up at the head of a side canyon that flowed down into a bigger drainage. And you could hear this turkey gobbling his way down that bigger drainage. I mean, this guy must have brought that turkey in. I want to say he pulled that turkey a mile over the course of a morning. And I was like, wow, you know, that's really something. And then that same trip, I had one where he was down in a little bottom and all the hillsides around it were just open. It was grass, and it was that arrowleaf balsam root stuff. It was just like wide open. And I was petrified to go down there because I was like, I knew he was going to pick me off as I picked my way down across the open hillsides. And he just gobbling. And I tried all morning thinking I could bring him up out of there, get a look, and I eventually just went for it. And the minute I got like in his zone, after calling to him all morning long, I finally got in his zone where he couldn't ignore me anymore. And I was like in his little patch of turf, and bam, ran in. And he knew the difference. He knew the difference between me up on top of that hill was like, he's like, whatever, you know. But once I closed that gap and got into his, what he regarded as his little spot, he was in my lap in seconds, you know. And it's just like they have a way where they have a sphere around them that they feel is like of significance to them. And you often get such a different response out of a bird when you get into his, like, I don't even know what to call it, like into his immediate, like, I can't ignore it anymore space. Something snaps and they just change so much. So I'll spend a lot of time, if a bird just calls, he doesn't do anything, I'll spend a lot of time finding a way in there to get in where I'm just like in his spot. I'm in his kitchen. And then you'll sometimes, wham, he's coming now. You know, it's hard to explain what goes on in their head. You know, they can cover the ground so fast, but somehow they view it as hostile to move away from their little spot.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've had problems with so we'll see some down on the bottom, and then it's like mid-morning, and they're starting to like head back up to the trees and roost, and we'll try and get up there and get on them, and it's like they're already up in the trees by the time we get on them because that country's so steep and nasty. But it's yeah, I mean the other thing is like I'm just half tempted to go down there just because some of the country's just so open down in there too. So
yeah.
But,
yeah, depending on how much other public pressure you have around there, that's an instance where a fan might come into play if you feel comfortable using it. Obviously, you got to be very, very, very cautious on public land, you know, throwing a fan around. But if the country is that open, where at 200 yards you can see them with the naked eye, and you can see around you 200 yards, if there's not another hunter, you know, you could throw a fan at them, and that might be what, you know, trips his trigger and causes him to run at you.
yeah. I have shot one in there. It's just on that one, it was like where there's like a little creek where we were at, and my buddy we were probably like 100 yards apart, and I was kind of just out in the wide open, and I was going to try and put the sneak on it, so I just laid down on my belly, and then I saw him going behind a little rise and like ran up on him and shot him right there.
Yeah, we used to bushwhack a lot of turkeys when we first started out.
So, I mean, I was just wondering, like, is there like a setup you could do to just get them out and to come up and look at you or whatever? So,
I would figure out what he regards as his zone and get into his zone.
Okay.
I got some experience and a comment on taking the kids turkey hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend a blind. You can get by with anything in them blinds. The kids can be moving around. My son, we'd make breakfast in there, and they'd play with all the calls, and you get in a good area with turkeys in it. I consider it kind of cheating. You put the decoys out, make some noise once in a while. Eventually, they'll come by. So
yeah, I'm definitely bringing a blind for our trip.
Yeah, on the text messages there, I left a kind of a little note. But my son killed his first turkey when he was 6 years old, and we called that turkey in we watched him for 800 yards coming in, kind of open area, country, western North Dakota.
Yeah.
And he shot that thing and jumped up and down for 20 minutes. It was still the best time of my life. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
And then I have one question. I'm from Montana. I spent about half my life in eastern Montana, half in North Dakota. I got a North Dakota turkey tag, but I also have a Montana turkey tag, so after today's news, I was wondering if you had any border running tips.
No.
God dang it.
I tell you, if you come into the state right now, I think any state you go to, they want you to go live in a hotel for 2 weeks. So I don't know.
You're in the wilderness and you're not around anyone. Who cares? Set up my wall tent and go hunting. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. There's you get into there's the letter of the law and the spirit of the law, and I don't want to give anyone advice on how to navigate those two things.
That's all I had there. Thanks, guys.
I was looking at all my decoys. I got a bunch of different ones. When you guys are out hunting, do you find it bad to use different branded decoys with each other? Like if they might look different?
No.
Turkey, maybe tell that?
No.
Because I got some that will look like an avian that looks really nice, and then got an old Primos or something. Like, should I not put those together, or what do you think?
If it's all faded and looks like garbage, I wouldn't use it. But I don't think that I mean, if they both look sharp and good, I wouldn't worry about them matching, but I would worry about them if they look like all sun bleached and garbagey.
Yeah. Remember, their brain's about yay big. So.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, we got a friend who kills a lot of turkeys, you know, and he's been a turkey hunter all of his life, and he's like, they're either really smart or they're so stupid. It's like one or the other. He's like, they either don't know what they're doing, and that's why it doesn't make sense, or they're extremely smart and they're outsmarting me, or the reason you can't predict them is because they're unpredictable. because they don't have some sort of inner logic that they're operating off of.
It drives me crazy when, I've had, I don't want to say a lot, but a decent amount of success after 10 a.m. But, I had a lot in Pennsylvania and Maryland where you have to quit by noon for most of the season. And it'll be 11 a.m. and I'll get a gobble down the hill, and he just gobbles and gobbles, and I keep calling, but I can never get him to come in. And how long do you wait? How long do you wait to call?
Mm-hmm. This is getting real basic, but I think it's irrefutable, and it's definitely the consensus of everyone who spends any amount of time studying turkeys, thinking about turkeys, is the natural order is that bird, what he's doing is he's going to set up in a spot where he feels comfortable. He's going to set up in a spot where he can be seen. And the way it's supposed to work is he goes there and he does his job and struts and gobbles, and hens come down. So you're trying to subvert that by bringing a bird to you. And so if you're calling to a bird and he won't come, I think a lot of people would stop and think like, oh, he's spooked, or he doesn't buy it, or he's suspicious, or any number of things. And in his mind, I think that he's doing like what he does, which works for him. Is like, I display, I call, and that brings hens to me. If I was sitting there and I know that he's not going to do it for 12 hours, right? So if he's hot and he's gobbling at 8, I have a hard time thinking that I have the luxury of that this is still going to be going on in an hour. Like he might be really good, and if I'm sitting there and he gobbles 6 times and never budges, and 10 minutes goes by, 20 minutes goes by, I'm going to be very eager to close distance, because he's not going to stay in that same mood all day long. He's going to get bored. He's going to shut up. He's going to wander off, something. So if I know that like everything's perfect, he won't budge. And again, you got the cover to move, I would probably want to start inching his way. If it's like you got to cross some mowed lawn and you can't move anyway, then you don't even have the option. But if I could close 25 yards and know that I'm not going to be seen, if he's gobbled 5 times and never budged, I'm going to start getting down there, because I'm going to want to keep him in that mood, before whatever he changes his mind.
Do you think it's easier to call downhill or uphill?
Man, Yanni, I'll let Yanni take that one.
I don't know if I really have an opinion one way or the other. I feel like I've called him both directions. I think it's a matter of where he wants to be in the first place. And if it's a windy day, he probably wants to be in that bottom. And if it's clear and calm, he probably wants to be up top projecting his voice. But usually when I hear the problem, or I encounter the problem that you just described, of just that bird hammering, but like not moving, or it sounds like he moves a little bit, but you realize that all he's doing is probably just turning 180 degrees, and he's just, blowing his gobble one direction, and then when he turns, he's blowing it, more in your direction, so he sounds closer. I think that you've located a gobbler in a strut zone, which I think 2 things come to mind. One is you could just sneak in there and just go in belly crawling and trying to bushwhack him, because I think that he is most likely in a kind of an open spot that's going to, maybe have an opportunity for, to bushwhack him. That, or you could mark that location and be, if that was at 11 that day and you think he got there, I don't know, an hour earlier or maybe 30 minutes earlier, be at that spot at 9 a.m. the next day, no bird, nothing. Like I was talking about earlier, just like ambush kind of a setup, making a few light calls here and there, but just waiting and thinking that, man, he's probably going to make that same loop again. And around 10 or 11, he's going to be in this strut zone doing the same thing because he knows it usually works, and you'll be there waiting for him. You know, you don't get that. You don't get the payoff of calling him in, but you know, you might get a dead turkey out of it.
Yeah, when you're sitting there and you hear one going off in the tree in the dark, and then you hear like pop, 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 pop. You hear him fly down, crash his way down to the brush, and then it's quiet for 10 minutes, and all of a sudden he sounds off 20 times off in some distance. He's in some sweet-looking little spot, man. He's in some little opening in the bottom. He's on a logging road. He's in a field corner where two fields come together and there's a lane between them. He's in some like primo locale going nuts. And it's like he likes that spot, you know. And that's the kind of stuff like is like marking that and realizing it. Earlier we were talking about if you've got a private chunk of ground to work or a very secluded public area, whatever, that's why I think it's important to play the long game a little bit and be watching what they do. Like if he loves that spot, he's not going to go like 3 days without showing up there again. He's gonna visit that area. He likes it for a reason. You'll never understand why, but he likes it for a reason. We've often joked after going to a place and hunting it 3 days and you keep looking at tracks in the sand. At the end of the trip, we'll often joke like, you know what? We could have come here, brought no calls, no decoys, and you could have just said from dawn to dusk, I'm going to sit where this lane hits this field. And at the end of that 3 days, you probably would have shot, like you just shot a turkey every day, man. And meanwhile, you're just running all over, playing all this scheming and everything, but you realize every day you're walking out, it's like, holy shit, fresh set of tracks. Like sometime throughout the day, that bird every day comes through here. But it takes all the fun out of it. But yeah, sit there and just sleep and eat snacks and wait for them to come down that road would be a very effective strategy, man.
What is your guys' like go-to decoy setup? Like how are you going to set up your decoys when you got a roost tree and stuff like that going on?
I don't get too technical with the decoy setup. I try to just, when I'm watching birds naturally on the same field or a similar looking field that I'm going to set up on, I try to just make a mental image and see how far apart they are. I think a lot of times it's very easy to put a decoy set up too close and they're kind of on top of each other and it might not look natural. So I'm usually thinking wider is better. I kind of always put them mostly facing the same direction because if you watch turkeys feed, they're kind of all just, you know, head down, head up, but kind of go in the same direction. The gobbler in the back. I know that people, you know, when you're if you're using a full strutter decoy, the gobbler that's coming in is usually going to come in and face him face to face. So sometimes that needs to be thought about because if you put your gobbler like with his butt right to you, that bird might come all the way around and end up being like that where he's hidden by your decoy. So that's something you don't want to do. But I know that a lot of guys will face that their gobbler decoy right at them. So when the bird comes in, then they have that, especially with archery, they get that shot, you know, right into the tail fan. Yeah, otherwise, I don't know. I don't get too carried away with, you know, thinking through how my decoys are set up.
I think in a perfect world, you can, you know, whatever, man. It's hard to explain all the ways in which it can happen, but, you know, you're in some ditch or whatever in the dark, and you can reach up and set those things where as it gets light, they're going to see them. That's great. Or if you know where they're like in the land, you can set up where they might get a glimpse of them from where they tend to always go. Like maybe you can't sneak in there because it's too tight. You don't want to spook them. But you put it where it's going to be visible to a bird for how they've been behaving when they come down. There's probably a bunch of science to set them up, but I think a lot more about me not spooking the birds, but trying to get them seen more than I think of the perfect configuration of setting up. And you know, there's a thing we hadn't talked about. Another nice thing about decoys is by getting the decoy between you and where the birds are going to be coming from, it's also helpful in getting moments to get your shotgun up and get your shot off, you know, when they catch it. Like I've a lot of times gotten in position when a bird's head was just obscured by a decoy, and it can really be helpful, because that could be a tough thing to get to swing on one when you got a big movement to make.
Awesome. We got one more question we're going to get to. It's coming from somebody in the chat, and it's just asking about those shot shells. We're super fond of this Federal TSS. Can you guys just talk a little bit about why you like them, why they're great?
Yeah, Yanni Bonzois will take it.
I hope all of you get that reference. There's a Wayne Vanzwall, big outdoor rider, and he likes to write about cartridges and cartridge performance and calibers and favorite calibers. And I enjoy reading that stuff. Steve does not so much. And so that's where that comes from. But yeah, TSS, and sure, we love TSS. It's super dense. It's super heavy. I mean, the comparison to lead is crazy. I mean, I think at like 100 yards, the number 9 TSS has like as much energy as like number 4 lead does at 40 yards. And don't quote me on that. That's an approximation, but it's somewhere along those lines. And now they even have, I think, 10s in TSS, and they're getting so many holes in the test targets down at Federal that the computer program can no longer read all the holes. And so they had to actually go back and start counting them by hand because there's got so many holes on target. So it's a great product. Is it overkill? It definitely could be. It's expensive. I think that their 3rd degree product, which many of them have a blend which has TSS in it. So they'll use like 9 TSS with like a number 7. I think like the Flight Stopper pellet, and then like the number 5s in the blend are a copper plated lead.
That's right. Yeah, you got it right.
Something like that. You know, I feel like they're going to be almost the same for most of us at 40 yards or up to 40 yards. It's only the TSS might really outshine or give you all those, you know, all that extra energy and performance at really long yardages that most of us never ever shoot a turkey at anyways. So sure, TSS is phenomenal. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's using it. But I think that, you know, sometimes you got to think and go, okay, if I can shoot, you know, 5 rounds for $30 instead of $60, and I can, you know, buy another call or whatever it is, a meal, fill up your gas tank so you can go hunting, you know, it might be worthwhile to check out the 3rd degree. I don't think you're going to lose a bird because you chose to go with that round.
Yeah, I really like that 3rd degree a lot, man.
Awesome. Well, good. Steve, Yanni, any final thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
Pattern your shotgun before you go out. We spent a lot of time, you know, because we have just do work where I was fiddling around with different guns all the time, you know. You know, and some people might look and be like, oh, it must be cool to have all that stuff to mess around with. But a lot of times you just wish that, right? You just had your gun, you like to use it, you know how it works. And so every spring we're messing around, and we're with new shotguns, and we're with people who don't hunt that much, and they got a new shotgun. And I'm telling you, over the years, the number of shotgun choke load combos that we've seen that are wildly off. And I think people shooting shotguns, there's this assumption that it's a shotgun. How bad could it be? But man, we have seen just time and time again patterns at 30 yards, patterns that are not no joke, patterns that are 18 inches off.
Yeah, patterns that break the turkey's legs as much as they're breaking the turkey's neck. And sure, you still end up with a wounded / dead turkey, but you know the breast meat is filled with pellets, and that's no fun for many reasons. But I think too, not just as like, you know, everybody says pattern the gun, but especially if you're a beginner hunter, you just gotta know what that sight picture looks like when someone says, you know, level the bead off on that vented rib. Remember hunting a few years ago with our friend Helen Show, and she'd been shooting a shotgun a bunch, felt good about it, but we thought, well, just in case in camp, let's do it one more time, just get a few more practice rounds in. And we had a box set up at, 25 yards. And the first 3 shots, there wasn't but a couple pellets in the top of the box. I mean, she simply just wasn't leveling that gun off enough or wasn't burying her cheek enough. And until we figured that out, when she finally buried it enough, the light bulb went off and she obliterated the target. But there's a lot of people that just simply don't understand what the sight picture is supposed to look like. And if you don't get down on that shotgun, you're going to shoot over their heads every time.
Yeah, I think too is, like aim small, miss small. It's hard when you're excited and that, you got that head coming through. But I have developed the habit of really aiming. They got like those waddles right there, whatever the hell you're going by, like aiming at something, and not just like aiming at turkeyness, but you're like you're picking a spot just as carefully as if you're shooting your bow. Like you got like a part of that turkey's head that you're going to hit, and it gives you something to focus on and center that shot there. Go through all the work we've been talking about getting birds in, and then to have them run off crippled or miss them clean is a real disappointment.
Yeah, my closing thought is just first and foremost, be safe and stay safe out there when you're turkey hunting. And then number 2 is just have a good time. And I think that goes especially to when you're taking kids out, make sure that they're, at least that's my approach, is that their good time is more important than me, getting a bird or the family getting a bird or whatever. And just kind of try to take it easy and enjoy, the bigger picture and not just that dead bird.
Yeah, yell at them a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thanks a lot.
Yeah, appreciate everybody coming out. That was awesome. And if you have any other additional questions, you can shoot those to info@firstside.com. And stay tuned. There'll be more of these conversations happening throughout the coming weeks, and those will be available on YouTube after, so you can check those out.